Hello traders, and welcome back to our channel. In this video, we're going to take a complete look at the GridSetter strategy from TWM. This strategy is built around session-based grid trading. It automatically detects the highest and lowest price reached during a defined time window, and uses those values to create a grid of price levels. The strategy then automatically generates entry orders, scales into positions as price moves, and manages exits based on your configured parameters. Here's how it works. When a session begins, the system calculates the session range and divides it into equal grid steps. If grid range spread is set, additional steps are added above and below. If ignore cycle is unchecked, the strategy waits for the moving average to establish a direction. If checked, it starts trading immediately. Once enabled, the strategy generates entries based on trade mode and entry order type. In trend mode, it enters long above the moving average and short below it. Counter trend does the opposite. Limit orders enter at exact grid levels. Stop market orders trigger on breakouts. Once an entry fills, the strategy scales deeper as price moves against you, adding scale in size contracts at each grid level. This continues until max scale-ins is reached or the grid boundary hits. For exits, the profit target sits target levels grid steps from your average entry, and the stop loss sits one grid step beyond your deepest scale-in. If target even after scale-in is enabled, the strategy can exit at break-even once you've scaled in, with target even offset %, adding a commission buffer. When the session ends, the cycle repeats with a fresh grid on the next session. Now, let's understand each parameter and what happens when you adjust them. Scale. In size determines how many contracts the strategy adds per scale. Increasing it makes the strategy add more aggressively. Decreasing it makes it less aggressive during drawdowns. Max scale-ins limits how many times the strategy can scale into a losing position. Increasing this allows more averaging down. Decreasing it makes the strategy accept losses faster. The strategy always stops scaling once it hits the grid boundary. Target levels defines how many grid steps away your profit exit sits from your average entry. Increasing it means waiting for bigger moves. Decreasing it closes positions faster with smaller profits. Target even after scale. When enabled, allows the strategy to exit at break-even after scaling in. When disabled, it only exits at the full target or stop loss. Target even offset % adds a buffer above break-even to cover commissions. Increasing it requires slightly bigger recovery before break-even exits trigger. Max trades per session caps independent entry setups per session. Increase for more activity. Decrease to limit daily trades. Max trades per cycle limits entries within one moving average direction. Increasing allows more trades per cycle. Decreasing restricts activity. Close at end of trading period, when enabled, forcibly closes all positions when the session ends. When disabled, positions carry over. Exit on MA close, when enabled, automatically closes positions if price closes on the wrong side of the moving average. This adds a trend-following exit rule. Plot targets, when enabled, draws yellow lines showing where profit targets and break-even levels trigger on your chart. Commission type lets you select between no commissions, spot, or futures commissions based on your market. Ignore cycle, when checked, lets the strategy start trading immediately at session begin. When unchecked, it waits for moving average confirmation. MA type lets you choose between SMA, EMA, WMA, or HMA. EMA reacts faster to price changes. SMA is more stable. MA period sets how many bars the moving average uses. Higher values create smoother MAs that react slower. Lower values react faster, but are noisier. MA flat epsilon is a sensitivity threshold for detecting moving average direction changes. Higher values filter out small wiggles. Lower values make it more sensitive. Position size sets how many contracts per initial entry. Higher makes trades bigger and riskier. Lower makes them smaller and more conservative. Keep order bars determines how long a pending entry stays active before expiring. Higher keeps orders active longer. Lower is more restrictive. Trade mode chooses between trend and counter trend. Trend enters long above the moving average and short below it. Counter trend does the opposite. Entry order. Type chooses between limit and stop market. Limit orders enter at exact grid levels but might not fill. Stop market orders trigger on breakouts and fill more reliably. Use min range percent and min range percent together create a minimum volatility threshold. Higher values skip calm periods. Lower values allow tighter ranges, but watch out for commissions. Use max range percent and max range percent together create a maximum volatility threshold. Higher allows explosive sessions. Lower avoids very volatile periods. Grid size percent determines how far apart grid levels are. Increasing gives fewer, wider spaced levels and fewer opportunities. Decreasing gives more, tighter levels and more opportunities. Grid range spread extends the grid beyond the session high and low. Increasing adds more steps above and below, letting you capture larger breakouts. The grid boundary is a hard limit where scaling stops. Plot grid, when enabled, displays all grid lines on your chart. Grid color, grid width, and grid stroke customize the grid appearance on your chart. Extend trading period, when enabled, allows entries and exits beyond session close. When disabled, all trading stops at session end. Backtest toggles whether the strategy tests on historical data. Enabled simulates trades on past bars. Disabled submits only real-time orders. Use Monday through use. Sunday select which days are active for trading. Start hour and start minute. Define when the session begins. End hour and end minute define when it closes. Between these times, the session range and grid are calculated. That's the complete walkthrough of the GridSetter strategy. Every parameter can be fine-tuned to fit your market and trading style. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.